Hey there everybody. This is the welding table I built almost 3 years ago, and thought it'd be time to do a little review on it and see how this thing's been working out, and kind of go over a few changes that I'm going to make to it. Of all the tools I've made or even own, this is definitely my most heavily used tool that I currently use at home anyways. But one thing I didn't realize until I started using the table was how useful it would be for things other than welding. I use it a lot for woodworking projects, as well as just general fabricating, bending, grinding stuff, forming. One time I actually used it to unload a hot water heater out of my back of my truck and prop it over into place and install that thing solo. So it really works well for lots of different applications. But got the idea for the table while doing some research on bicycle frame jigs, and I came across Jody's welding tips and tricks, and he had built a bike frame on a modular strong hand build pro table, and kind of like the idea of the slats where you could clamp something down. And this is my little welding cart I built, and you can see how it's clamped down. It's super easy to get things squared up just by going up the edges of the tables or the slats and things. And I made some little clamp pieces there to go around round tubing, and built my little bike frame there, and then worked somewhat decent, I guess, to align it there as well. It's not super straight, but straight enough. But anyways, when I saw the video, I thought, that's something what I want. And after doing a little research and everything, in a perfect world, the strong hand table would be what I want. But I just, it's just not in my budget. So and I looked at some others like the Harbor Freight, the little portable folding table, and that was, I just wanted to build something a little more robust. So this is kind of what I came up with. And a few of the things I wanted to change, back when I was kind of reorganizing my tools, I decided I wanted to put one of the toolboxes there in the midsection. So and as well as a little grate. And I had a piece of plywood there stacked on the bottom, but thought a little grate. But in order to get that toolbox in there, I had to notch out the two front arms. Essentially what I did is notched out the two front arms, and then just welded a piece of 1.25" angle iron there from front to back, and then the toolbox just sits on that. So if I was doing this from building it scratch, from here on out, I would probably just maybe reconfigure the dimensions slightly. Or I guess somebody could use 1-inch square tube instead of 2-inch, which I used there. But I don't know, I think all in all, the end result of how I did it turned out okay. But the basic table, the dimensions, kind of one thing, I was going for kind of bang for the buck, so I kind of just figured what I could do with one stick, a 20 foot long 6-inch by 3/8 flat, and then some 2-inch square tubing, 20-foot section of that. So just doing some calculations and kind of going off for the size of the table I wanted and where it could fit. That's kind of this is basically what I came up with there. So that's the one side. I've got the little angle welded in there. But the dimensions of the tabletop itself are 24 inches by 34 inches. So you got 5 of those 6-inch slats with 1 inch in between there. So makes it nice to be able to clamp things there in the middle end of the table. And then the basic where the 2-inch square tubes are, you're looking at a 18 by 24 inch dimension. So there's about 3 inches of overlap on the top there, so you got some room there to clamp things down. Yeah, just getting the pieces there. And so the toolbox, there was a little lip on the edge of the toolbox there, and it wouldn't quite fit in, so I had to kind of form that down slightly. Just put a piece of 2-inch strip, and that's the same strip I used to, or the same thickness. I think it's an 1/8 inch thick, and I just used that fill in that void that I cut out on the uprights there. So basically got the angles in and just kind of mocked it up and like the way it fit there. So that's some of the 2-inch little strips there, and just got them tacked in and just stitched weld them in there. One, just kind of jumped around, welded, from one tack to the next, but jump a couple spots in between and so forth. And I had been kind of contemplating doing this. I had a few viewers ask some different things what I would do differently, and this was kind of one idea I had, or maybe putting some expanded metal or something. So I kind of found this other piece that I put in there, and it worked out pretty nice, which I had to cut it down a little. It came off of a display off something, and so I just some scrap metal that I cut up, had to narrow it down a little bit, and just drilled some holes and attached it by using plug welds. That was, it's painted pretty heavily, and I didn't want to grind all that off and try to tack it up. So that worked out well. And then I put another 2-inch strip there on the back to hold the grinders and things like that. And so had this little 4-inch gap back here, and so initially I was just gonna leave it bare and have some room for I was gonna mount the grinder mounting strip inwards, but it's would have been a little difficult to reach under there, I think, and get them. So just decided to make a little square basket, I guess, if you will, or a little square container, a rectangular container to hold my grinding discs and accessories and whatnot there. So just cut this piece out and notched some pieces out there and bent it with my the small ends there, just vice grips and some metal strips, and then the long bend there I just belt with my little 30-inch bending brake tool. And so came out okay. It's a little rough, it's not perfect, but it's functional. Looks kind of slick. I had some old stainless steel handles there that I had to cut them down a little bit to get that to fit, so just folded that up there and drilled some 4 holes on each end and attached the handle there to hold it together on the top there, and then just riveted it there on the bottom end. And if it's just a little, I don't know, I think it's 26 by 4 inches and about 4 inches deep there. So like I say, the little stainless steel handles, I think they were 5 inches long, just a little standard door handle, and just had some laying around in my toolbox, so I had to cut them down there just a little bit to clear everything. So just put some pop rivets in there in the bottom, kind of hold it all together. And but just in general, I think the size of the table, it's for everything I've done, and the metal thickness, I think the 3/8 thick top has worked out well. I don't really weld anything thick enough to warp it, but so got it all painted up, and it's kind of what it looked like there. And in the main drawers, I've got my just kind of vice grips, bigger vice grips, things like that, and then just C-clamps and squares and such. And then I've got my flat files and hacksaw blades, and I'll probably make a little something to hold the files upright so they're not just laying all over each other there. And I got my round files and little tube reamers and such there. So yeah, that's basically it. Got the back side there, got my little basket thing there, or whatever, little box, grinder and such, and you know, in the box I've got just various discs, wire wheels and flap discs and such, and I've got a little old water bottle there that's got all the different tools for a couple different grinders, take the wheels off and whatnot. And then thought about doing mounting up a vise in a little trailer hitch thing addition to it, but you know, really the table's not that big. This is just my little vise. It just clamps on, so that worked out pretty well. You can just stash it down there as well. So you know, got the little kind of honeycomb expanded metal thing there, works well. And then I actually cut the bolts down. That had the ones mounted upside down on the swivel, so got that going. And then kind of the last thing, you know, it works well. I've got a big table that's sitting next to it that's about a 1/2 inch higher, and so if I stack a piece of wood on top of this, I can use it, you know, clamp wood directly on this and use my circular saw or whatever to cut wood and stuff. So I think I'm going to make a little more permanent tabletop for that, or not permanent, but something you can take on and off easily. It just sits on there. So yeah, basically that's it. Concludes this review, and thanks for watching.